Hi everyone and welcome to Book Boop. My name is Rachel and today I'm going to talk about some book series that I haven't gotten to yet that I've been wanting to get to for a while. Some of these series I have mentioned before, I think in a similar video in the past of series I wanted to get to and I still haven't gotten to them. Some of these are series that have been out for a really long time. Some of them are a little bit newer, but I've got 8 different series here that I'm really wanting to get to at some point. Hopefully I can start at some point this year. That'd be awesome, but I'm trying to finish some of the series that I'm already in and catch up to those first before I start another one. That way I don't have tons upon tons of series just laying out there that I've never finished. So let's go ahead and jump into some series that I'm hoping to get to in the future. One of them is the Everland series by Wendy Spennel. I don't know how to pronounce the last name. I'm sorry. This is a series that's been out for a while. It is a YA kind of like twisted fairy tale retelling type of story. I know it's a trilogy. The first book has to do with Peter Pan. The second one has to do with Alice in Wonderland. And then the third one has to do with Wizard of Oz. So it kind of has like a big mashup of some of our favorite fairy tales. I think it's supposed to have sort of like this dark retelling, this maybe a little steampunky. I think it sounds interesting. I'm a little bit nervous about it though, because I'm afraid since it's a little bit of an older YA series, I'm a little worried it's going to be super angsty, which I'm not a fan of angst. So I don't really know if I'm going to love this series, but I love fairy tales. I love it when they're retold. So I'm excited to try this series out. If you've happened to read this series before, please let me know down below what you think about it and if it's worth it, because I've had it on my to-read list for so long, but I still haven't gotten to it because I never seem to be in the mood for it, and I'm a little bit worried that I'm not going to like it, but I'm still intrigued. So let me know if you've happened to have read this one. Another one that's another like retelling type of thing that sounds really cool, and this one I think intrigues me a little bit more than Everland, and that is the Wendy Darling series by Colleen Oakes. I have read a trilogy by Colleen Oakes before, and that was the Queen of Hearts series. I'm sorry, I couldn't remember the name of it, blanked out. It is a origin story for the Queen of Hearts. I really enjoyed it a lot. It was a really kind of dark and gritty retelling type thing. It was a lot of fun and I enjoyed it a lot, so I'm interested to see what this one's about. As you can probably guess, it's about Wendy from Peter Pan, and I think it's about her and her adventures in Neverland. I think it's a lot darker depiction though of it. I believe this is a trilogy as well, and I did like Colleen Oakes' writing style, so I'm interested to see what this one's like. Again, this is a little bit of an older series, so I'm afraid it's also going to be angsty because I feel like past YA series were more angsty than they are now. Probably because a lot more adults have a tendency to really lean towards YA and like to read YA like I do. I also read middle grade as well as adult, so I feel like a lot of times now they tend to make it a little less angsty to kind of appeal a little more to adults. I could be completely wrong about that. So I'm a little nervous about this being angsty as well, but it sounds like a lot of fun. I love Peter Pan. It's one of my favorite stories from childhood, so I'm interested to see what that one is all about. All right, this next one here is a middle grade series that I've heard so much about, and it's several books long. They're all massive, and I think the series is still ongoing. Like, I think there's still books coming out for it. And that is Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. I really don't know much about the series at all, except I think it's got a magic school involved with it. I think the main character is like half elf and has some magical abilities that she didn't know she had. I don't know if it's got like Chosen One vibes or anything a la Harry Potter, but I know that it's supposed to be like magic school. There's supposed to be really good friendships in this, really good parental figures in this. Like, I've heard it's just a really fantastic middle grade series. And again, these books are thick boys. So there are some thick books and they're long and there's a lot of them. So this one feels daunting to me. I always get daunted with series that are more than 3. If there's more than 3 in a series, I get nervous. I get a little scared. So I'm a little nervous about jumping into this one. I think that's why I keep putting it off, is because of how many books are in this series, and I feel like I'll be really making a commitment, which is silly. I can stop reading a series if I don't like it, or I can take my time with it. But I just feel like it's a huge commitment to jump into a series that's really long, even if it is middle grade. All right, so after that, I've got 4 more here to talk about. Sorry, 5 more to talk about. This one you will definitely probably have heard of. I feel so far off the bandwagon with this one because I still have yet to read it, and that is the Scythe Trilogy by Neal Shusterman. If you have not heard of this series before, it is a Utopian, also, if you could think about it, dystopian type futuristic setting where the world now is eradicated of death, basically. People don't die from illness anymore. People don't die of old age anymore. Everything has been healed and solved. But the problem is now there's overpopulation. If nobody's dying, there's a lot of people being made and nobody being knocked out. So enter in the Scythes. These are people that are commission trained to go and basically glean, to kill certain people, to kill some people, to help with the population control. Sounds really dark. I've heard it's really kind of dark and disturbing, the idea of it, but it's really intriguing to me. Also, I'm going to sound like an idiot probably, but it took me so long to realize there's actually a face profile in that. I did not see it until I downloaded the picture to put on my Kindle here to show it on screen. I've seen this cover so many times and have never realized there was a face silhouette. Never. If you didn't see it until I told you, let me know, because this will make me feel better. I really did not see it up until today. So anyways, this sounds like a really intriguing series. The only thing I'm nervous about with this one, it's a trilogy, but I've heard the third book is a bit of a letdown and is actually kind of like long and slow and kind of boring, and that the ending wasn't as good. But I've heard the first and the second book are top-notch, amazing. So I'm a little nervous about getting into this series and being excited about it and enjoying it, and then also as well getting disappointed by the third. I don't want to speak for everybody and say that like everyone thinks the third one's not good, but I've just heard a lot of people say they were disappointed with it. So I'm a little nervous about going into this one, but I really want to, because I want to be a part of the conversation. I want to know what's going on with this series. It's just one that I feel like just have no idea what's going on with it, and I want to know. So I think it'd be a really fun, interesting one. Also, I find myself actually liking dystopians. I like those kind of books. I think they're really, really fun. All right. This next one is just a duology, actually, so not a high commitment. And I'm interested in this one because it's supposed to be very similar to Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, and that is the Warcross duology by Marie Lu. I really do not know much about this at all, except that it's similar to Ready Player One. It's similar to an immersive gaming experience. We're just like completely immersed in this world. And I think we're following this girl who's like super good at whatever game it is. And I think she starts getting paid to hack for the game, or I don't know. I don't want to say a bunch of stuff that I have no idea what I'm talking about. I don't know very much about the series. I know I read on it before, but I don't really remember what I read up. I just remember it was supposed to be kind of similar to Ready Player One, which I really enjoyed. I still have to read Ready Player Two, by the way. I've heard it's not as good as the first one, but I still really want to read it. But I got to read that too. So behind. But this one, I think this sounds really cool, really fun. And it's been out for a while too. And I've heard nothing but good things about it. So I'm interested. I think it'd be fun to get back into sort of a futuristic video game type thing. I'm going to go on a tangent for a second because I can't remember the name of the product, but my husband forwarded me, I think it was my husband or my brother, forwarded me a video of basically like a setup that's similar to Ready Player One, of having like the Oculus stuff, but then there was like this whole stand you were strapped into and you could like move around and run and like do all this stuff, and it was more immersive, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's like Ready Player One. It was crazy. I'm like, we're gonna get there, folks. It's a little terrifying but really cool at the same time. I was like, it's disturbing, yet I want one. So anyways, that's a little fun little tidbit for you. We're moving towards the future of Ready Player One. Get ready. Okay, this next one is originally a French series. I'm not going to try to pronounce the original French name for the series, but it is the Mirror Visitor Quartet by Christelle Dabos, and it is A Winter's Promise is the first one. This, I have heard, is amazing, but it overwhelms me and intimidates me for a few reasons. One, the books are massive. Two, I've heard that it's a little bit heavier and more complex of a series. There's a lot of political intrigue in this series, which I always think I'm not that interested in, but whenever a series has some like political or like royal intrigue, I actually kind of like it, even though I think I won't. let me back up. This series, if you haven't heard about it before, is about this girl who is able to do two things. One, she's able to read objects. She's able to pick up an object and immediately be able to see or know its history, who's owned it, what's happened to that object. The other thing, too, is she can also travel through mirrors. In this particular universe, every single city or kingdom exists on these floating spires, I guess. And she is going to be marrying someone, kind of like a political marriage type thing. So I don't think she's even met the guy. She's marrying someone who's on a different spire, and I think her particular like powers that she has or abilities that she has are going to be used and manipulated. I don't know a whole lot about the series, if you can tell. I just know a little bit, and I'm a little nervous about entering it because I'm afraid that it's going to run over my head a little bit and I'm not going to really fully understand the series, but it sounds really, really cool and really intriguing. And as far as I know, I don't think I've read any translated works. So I think it'd be really, really cool to jump into something like this, to jump into something that is a translated work. I think there are 4 books in this series, if I'm right. I think only 3 of them are translated so far, and the 4th one is yet to be translated. But I just think it'd be really cool to read. I know that they're really popular. I've heard a lot about them, and I think they're beautiful. The covers are gorgeous, and it sounds intriguing. So hopefully I will get the guts to jump into that series this year. I really, really hope so. This next one, I really hope I will get to this year because I have been slowly but surely working my way through Victoria Schwab's works. Good chunk of them I have loved. And this one, I believe, is just a duology. It's the Archive Duology by Victoria Schwab. I know very little about this series, except it's supposed to be about a library that when you die, your entire life story is bound up in a book and placed within the archive. That's all I know. I think there's some more of a creepier edge to that, possibly having to do with the books being bound by the skin of the person who died. I could be wrong about that. I think there's some creepy vibes with this too, because Victoria Schwab usually has some dark vibes in there as well. But I'm really excited about this one. I feel like this is one of the series that she's written that I haven't heard that much about, mainly because it's a lot older. A lot of people haven't read it. Kind of like The Near Witch, that was her first book, I think, and that one ended up being kind of republished again, or a new version of it, and it's kind of seen a resurgence. This one, I think, hasn't seen as much of a resurgence, but I'm really interested in the premise. It sounds really cool, and I really like Victoria Schwab's writing style. I like her darker edge, her morally gray characters. I really enjoy them a lot. I feel like she writes characters differently than most other authors I've read. So I really would like to try this one. Hopefully I can get to it this year. It's only 2 books. It's not a huge commitment. And I would like to still continue to read more Schwab because I really enjoy reading her works. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, the last one I would say is a series, but not necessarily. It is the Twisted Tales series from Disney. I think they're all written by Liz Braswell. I apologize if that's incorrect, but I'm pretty sure they're all written by the same person. And it's just a bunch of different retellings, kind of dark retellings of classic Disney films. And this one is, I think the most recent one is an Alice in Wonderland one, which I'm the most excited about because I love Alice in Wonderland. I'm a total nerd for Alice in Wonderland. I love it. I have several copies of that book. I love that book so much. I've read it so many times, both Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. So good. But I'm really interested in this one. If you can't read the tagline, it says, "What if Wonderland was in peril and Alice was very, very late?" This one looks really cool. There's also another one that's a retelling of Peter Pan that I'm super interested in. That one sounds really neat, but there's a whole bunch of them. There's a Frozen one, there's a Cinderella one, there's a Mulan one, there's a Aladdin one, there's a Sleeping Beauty one. I think there's a Snow White one, or the Snow White one's coming out. But there's a whole bunch of them, and I have not read a single one. I don't think I necessarily want to read every single one of them because not all of them interest me. And they're not connected in any way. It's not an actual series you start with book 1 and go through. These are just all different retellings of like a different twist or way to look at these classic fairy tales or Disney movies. So there's only select ones I want to read, but I haven't read any of them and I would like to. I think they'd be really, really fun to read, really cool to kind of jump into like these classic Disney tales and fairy tales that I really love and grew up with, and see them in a different way. I think that'd be really, really cool. So those are all the different series that I have yet to read. Like I said, I have several series I'm in the middle of right now, and I'm trying to either catch up to what's already out or read through the entire series that's completed before I kind of jump into some of these. So I'm trying to focus on reading new releases, as well as some backlisted standalones, as well as some series that are still going, some backlisted series. Like I'm trying to keep up, and it's hard. What are some series that you still have been putting off? Let me know down below, especially if it's some of these series that I've mentioned. If there's some of these you have read that I mentioned today and you're like, yes, you need to get to this sooner than later. They're amazing. Let me know down below. I just want your opinions to know if these are series worth reading. If there's some series that you have been putting off as well, just let me know down below. I would love to chat with you about it. On this side of the video over here is my logo. If you click on that, you can subscribe to my channel, follow me on my book journey. On this side of the video over here is a suggestion for another video. If you want to watch another right now, just click on that. But thank you so much for watching. You rock, and don't forget to keep reading. Bye!